What's this? A hearty breed of men in search of wild snowy owls across a frosty winter landscape. Ooh, looks cold. Join the adventure next on Twits and Pishers, the birdwatching show. Hello birders, and welcome to the last show of this season. We're back in Canada and it's cold. It's minus 25. It's a beautiful crisp day. I'm dressed for it. I got my camouflage pants so I can sneak up on birds, and the objective of our expedition today is to look for northern owls of all sorts. Snowy owls, great gray owls, boreal owls. We've just gotten into the prime snowy owl country north of the town of St. Albert in Alberta. My guest today is Gord Court, an old pal of mine from my university days. He's an ornithologist and he has a particular liking for birds of prey. We drove for about 30 seconds and Gord spotted a beautiful snowy owl in a frost-covered tree. So we're off to a good start. Let's go have a look at that owl. Our destinations today include the flatlands north of St. Albert, a great spot for snowy owls, and the boreal forest around Athabasca. Well, that bird's really fluffed up, isn't it?
Yeah, it's cold. I am.
No kidding. Wow. Well, I guess this is the right kind of country for them. It's so flat, it must remind them of their breeding grounds up north.
Sure, get on these types of trees here, they can probably see a long ways and pick up anything that went in vision.
Boy, no kidding. I mean, you wouldn't think there would be anything to eat here at all. Now, you figure that's a female bird?
Yeah, this is quite a heavily barred individual and quite large, so he's no doubt a female.
Yeah, it's a bit hard to say when they're fluffed out that much how big they are, but it sure looks bigger than the adult males, doesn't it? Boy.
Yeah. If you get a smaller bird in, harassing them is often good for scale, and you get an idea just how big they are.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You know, you hear all this talk about these birds being unusual among the owls because they hunt by day.
Yeah.
But you know, it strikes me that if they're spending most of the year in the land of the midnight sun, they have no option.
Yeah, pretty hard to avoid.
They've got to get used to hunting in the daytime. Yeah. Oh, she's beautiful.
Boy, it's cold out here.
Oh, man, isn't it, though? Yow. Oh, yeah, there she goes. There she goes. Ooh, get down. That's funny how they always get down really low to move from place to place, isn't it?
Right. You get an idea of the size of her there, though.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Shadow under there.
Ah, let's go find another.
Radio.
What do you figure?
Sure.
Okay. Finding another snowy owl was as easy as driving down a few more country roads. This big female was on the move, but we soon found a third bird, although at first we mistook it for a snow lump. I thought we should photograph the lump just to make a point when Gord suddenly recognized our mistake. Man, that's so embarrassing. I was sure that was a lump of snow.
Well, they show up in the hottest places.
Oh, you know, you get out here, and I mean, this is kind of an enjoyable thing to do, although it's really, really miserably cold. But you spend so much time stopping for lumps of snow and bleach jugs,
Runaway plastic garbage bags.
Oh yeah, they catch on a piece of.
Yeah. They'll really do it to you.
And those little white signs, I don't know what they're for, but they're on
gas
a post.
Signs. Yeah.
Gas signs.
The backside of a gas sign.
Yeah, they really can be confusing. That reminds me of another snowy owl story. We were, I have a friend, Finnish fellow, came over to do some birding a couple of years back, and we're all out driving these same roads, and Kari calls out, "Niktia, Niktia," and the guy who's driving just keeps on driving, and Kari says, "No, Niktia," and Terry says, "What? What's that mean? It's stop." So he stops the car. And of course, there's a snowy owl, and well, you know that's the scientific name of the snowy owl.
Sure, the genus. Yeah.
Scandiaca. And Kari says, I wish you guys had used scientific names. I can't pronounce that, the snowy owl. I guess it would be a kind of a peculiar thing to say in a...
Sure, a Finnish accent.
Yeah.
The Finn, I presume.
Yeah, snowy owl. Anyway, snowy owl, not to be confused with a lump of snow. Lump of snow. So what do you think of this one, Gord?
Definitely a snow lump.
This is a snow lump. Okay.
See the nice white plumage though? Definitely a male snow lump.
Yeah, it could be a male snow lump. This is such a great spot though. We've got 3 snowy owls visible from this point on the face of the frozen earth.
Sure.
That's excellent.
Egg Lake, Alberta is probably one of the best places you can find snowy owls.
Yeah. Now, what do you think about these? Are these still females? They're quite light-colored birds. These two out here.
Quite light. I'd say these are adult females, and the bird on the post back here is probably a male. That's the first male
it's just a little speck on the top of that telephone
bright
post
white
there.
though.
Yeah. I was out here last winter with my own video camera and saw some beautiful, just pure white males. Gorgeous birds. Not as heavy as the females though.
No.
You can tell they're just a little bit slimmer.
A little daintier, yeah.
Boy, I'd hate to spend a winter out here. Woo!
Yeah, shows you how tough they are though.
Yeah,
These
really
guys are basking in the sun right now. That guy looks like a snow lump himself though, doesn't he?
Oh, they look exactly like snow lumps. These two are quite close together. They're territorial birds.
Yeah, Pete Boxall and Ross Lean did some neat work on that, though. It must be 15 years ago now, around Calgary there. And they do have winter feeding territories, and these females will put the run on males if they see them. So we've had them come in to prey here, and you'll see a male, if he lands, he'll often get run off by a female.
Oh, is that right? Oh, man. Ooh, packed.
Yeah.
They're packed in here.
It's raining snowy owls.
Excellent.
Our last snowy owl of the day was another big female using a power pole as a lookout. Bracing against the cold and wind, she will sit for hours squinting out at the white featureless fields, watching and listening for rodents and defending her territory against intruders. I doubt she spends much time chasing snow lumps and grocery bags, though. A snowy owl's vision is vastly superior to our own. Those white feathers are superb insulation, and even the feet are feathered right down to the toes. As long as the food supply holds out, she'll stay in this area all winter, although the occasional change of lookout poles no doubt helps break the monotony for her and stretches those cold wing joints. In much the same fashion, Gord and I decided to change our own lookout spots and headed north in search of other species.
I guess our day started out all right, but it's going to end. It's going to end on a what shall we say? A quiet note.
Oh, we'll go owling tonight though with the
Oh
tape.
yeah, no,
We'll do that.
I'm looking forward to that. But tell me, maybe this is a tough question, but we go out this morning, we see 11 snowy owls, and you figure, hey, it's a great winter for owls. Then we come into our boreal forest spots. We look for the great grays and the hawk owls, and they're not here. Does this mean that one owl doesn't necessarily predict the other?
No, that's the case. With great grays, you really never know what you're going to get. Deep snow years, we tend to get them out in these clearings like the roadside clearings here. With many of the birds last year were using these very trees, plunge diving in the ditch here after microtus mainly, small voles, and shrews also, shrews that were crossing the road.
Shrews, that's a tiny little thing for them to eat. That's like eating peanuts.
Yeah, popcorn chicken there. I think they'd probably have to have a few of those a day to keep going.
For a big bird like a great gray? Yeah. Man.
That night it was fiercely cold, and the owls were all but silent. It was so cold, in fact, that Gord's Owl Buster tape machine began buzzing and squawking uncontrollably.
Oh, hey.
Well, I got a kick out of the fact that just now you thought you heard a great horn and I couldn't hear it, and then I thought I heard a saw-whet and you couldn't hear it, and then our sound man Larry thought he heard a barred owl and we couldn't hear that. So I think we're all starting to hallucinate as our brain tissue freezes slowly.
That's right.
Out here.
The one thing that you do notice, though, if you run into one, you can't miss it. It's just,
right.
Usually, as soon as you step out of the truck or something, you'll pick it up.
So for you, this is part of playing the tapes is part of a research project. You're studying the raptors of the boreal forest. But what's your opinion about the ethics of playing tapes to get owls to call for bird watchers, for people who aren't professional biologists?
Yeah, well, it's a good way to get them to come in, but I think if you're going to use it, you should use it fairly judiciously, and a lot of times you could just go out and hear owls calling spontaneously, and if you're just interested in hearing them call, just go out and listen. But if you want to bring them in, you could use a tape. But I'd suggest that most people watch for them, or sort of be conscious of the main laying period for the owls and when they're going to be on eggs, and certainly you wouldn't want to be pulling them off their eggs to have them come out and be seen. So,
Oh,
so you'd
sure.
be cautious about what you're doing with it, that's for sure.
Do you think you might expose some of the smaller owls to predators?
Sure, if they're calling constantly like that, great horned owls would probably locate them by the call and
Nail 'em,
nail 'em, yeah.
I really like it when you're just out there and you don't expect to hear an owl call and suddenly there it is.
Yeah, well, we stopped hopefully to hear a boreal there, and a great horned owl was booming away, so that pretty well
Yeah, right, yeah.
killed everything there. But
That, of course, happened before we had the, camera and the
oh, it did.
sound equipment out of the...
Rule of sandwiges.
Nothing you can do. Rule of sandwiches?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it'll always happen at the wrong time, whatever happens.
The sandwiches happen at the wrong time? I don't know. Oftentimes, that's right. You're not ready for a sandwich, and there it is. Yeah, know what you mean.
Oh dear, I think our brains are freezing for sure now.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Hey John, do you remember the Forest Rangers, the TV show years ago?
Sure do. Still watching on reruns.
I always wanted to try this. Would you indulge me?
Yeah, go for it.
XNY 555A for Apple. Go ahead, Chubb.
Here's a handy tip if you're birding with a friend, or especially if you're traveling in two vehicles. Get yourself a couple of walkie-talkies. Now, I prefer the inexpensive walkie-talkies. This one, about $25. Yeah, of course, you have to buy at least two or they're no fun at all. The good thing about an inexpensive one is that they're really sold as toys for kids, and you don't have to follow proper radio protocol and know what 10-4 and 10-20 and all that stuff means. Although you would like to say things like Roger, because it'll remind you of Roger Tory Peterson, the man who started the whole birding thing and to whom we owe a great debt of gratitude. I should also warn you that they pick up the signals from baby monitors, so if you're birding in the city, you'll hear a lot of babies and, things like that. But out here in the northern bush, there is a real lack of babies, and unfortunately today, a real lack of owls, too. But Gord's gone deep into this woodlot here, and Gord, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, John.
Have you got any owls over there? I've got nothing here.
Nothing here but a couple of gray jays.
Okay, Roger. And, I forgot to ask him. Gord, did you pack the lunch? I think I forgot it on the table myself.
Yeah, I did. I got a big box of sandwiches here for you, John.
Excellent. So the rule of sandwiches should apply today.
Yeah, I think I better explain that again.
Yeah, I never did quite understand that last night.
Well, basically, it comes down to the fact that if you have, or you're waiting for a rare bird, it won't appear until you actually open your lunch.
Haha, and you put your binoculars down. Thank you, Gord and Roger.
Roger that.
So there you have it, a double birding tip, the rule of sandwiches, walkie-talkies, just to make up for the lack of owls. So you're not even getting a signal from your radio.
Boy, she's a tough
Bird.
week. It's really cold out there.
Well, I gotta hand it to you. This is, I'm just out here birding, but this is your job. You gotta find these birds and document their presence.
Yeah, it's always pretty challenging. One of the best ways to do it, though, is if you can get a hold of them once, is to get a radio on them, and the standard tool of a modern biologist is telemetry. And we can find them a lot easier, and we can also find what habitats they're in and how much of it they need.
Yeah.
By looking at very simple measures of habitat association and also home range requirements and home range size for these animals. It's becoming increasingly important with the amount of forestry that's going on in Alberta right now.
That's right, too. This has been more or less unbroken forest for forever.
Yeah.
And now we've got all this interest from the pulp and paper industry. What do you think the prognosis is for the 8 species of owls that are using these habitats?
Well, as long as we make a priority of keeping a lot of this old timber around and big pieces of it, either through reserves or perhaps through longer rotations, I think we can probably hold most of them in here. But it's going to take I think you have to encourage the forest industry to do things right, and if they do, we'll have these things around in perpetuity. These are really special places to be in the summer. They're not, as we've been noticing, productive places in the winter, but in the summer they really are special, and
yeah.
they should be protected, that's for sure.
Well, you know, on my last trip, I was in southern Florida, one of the easiest places in North America to find lots and lots of birds.
Yeah, you're in one of the most difficult places to find birds right now, that's for sure.
No kidding. No, if only we could just hear one or see one.
Well, there was a feather back there we picked up. That was a good spot.
Oh, yeah, no, I got to hand it to you.
They're in here.
Single feather, yeah.
Yeah, well, they call
That's
great gray owl the phantom of the northern forest, and really that's what they're like. You'll see them, and then they're gone. You may not see them again for another year.
The single owl feather was indeed a good sign, and so was a common raven soaring and flapping above what should have been an outstanding spot for northern hawk owls.
So there we are, John, in the middle of a 12-year-old burn. Lots of dead material here. This was salvaged log, but it still has a lot of snag material, and these are great perches for hawk owls. This is where you want to watch for them if you're
Prime hawk owl country.
Sure is, yeah.
But it's kind of too bad we haven't seen a hawk owl for a couple of years now.
Yeah, it's an eruptive species as well, like many of the others. And if there's a good rodent base here, you might see one every kilometer, but in a really good year. In other years, you wouldn't see them at all.
So they're still back further north.
Yeah, in some other area that's much better for rodents. Yeah.
Oh well, sometimes you find them and sometimes you don't. It's kind of like fishing.
Sure.
Speaking of which, tell me about this fishing gear.
Well,
what do you need fishing gear for if you're an owl biologist?
Yeah, well, it's certainly one way of bringing them to the hand if you want to capture them for banding. And the fishing rod and small mouse lure has been used for many years now to bring in certain species of owls to the net for capture and banding.
So you would cast this thing out, and I would slap the net down on the owl.
You'd be the team member. And
let's give it a try here. And there's no hooks in that mouse thing. It's just a bit of fur there.
Try and get a nice smooth return. Not very well.
Well, that was very smooth, Gord. Yeah.
That's right. Flying squirrel, that one there. Actually. And that was it. And you bring that owl right to your feet and then feed her with the net.
Isn't that nifty? Isn't that nifty? And of course, this is not to be promoted as a recreational activity. One needs a license for this. It's
you need both
much harder to get than a fishing license.
A federal master permit or banding permit, and also a provincial raptor research permit.
Right, right. No, that's really interesting.
It's a lot of fun, though. There is a little bit of a fishing similarity there.
A lot of life is like fishing.
Yeah.
A lot of life is also like looking for hawk owls. If they're around, you can't miss them. And if they're not, well, it doesn't matter how hard you try to find them. A few years back, during a big winter for hawk owls, I took this high-8 videotape near Wabamun Lake in central Alberta. The northern hawk owl is a smallish, slender, long-tailed owl with almost no fear of people. It looks quite peculiar in the field guides, like a cross between two otherwise normal birds. But in person, it is a perfectly sensible creature, combining the typical attributes of an owl with the speed and alertness of a day-flying hawk. I especially like the way they look at a situation from every possible angle, much like a good birdwatcher should.
I don't believe it. I just don't believe it.
Rule of sandwiches.
There's the great gray owl.
Yeah. One sandwich, one owl.
Went into Athabasca, had a steak sandwich, came back here. We were just positioning the camera to end the show, and there was the bird.
Yeah.
Isn't that something? Oh, there he comes.
Coming down.
After something.
Yeah, she's just mousing off these young aspin here right into the ditch.
Just following the open
They're
line.
looking down towards the ditch there.
Look at those eyes.
She's fixed on.
Ooh, got it. Got it.
Beauty.
Unbelievable. Look at that. That's just so silent and it's almost like slow motion.
Deadly. Yeah.
Wow, up in the tree there.
Yeah. You watch them long enough, you can see this sort of
Is he
thing.
going to eat that or? Oh, he's off.
Yeah, there may be
Maybe cache it somewhere.
yeah.
Eh?
Or maybe if this is a male here, the hen will be in the bush. Looked like a smaller bird. Pretty dark one, huh?
Oh, really dark and very brown. I mean, you know, that could have been a great brown owl if there was such
That's
a
right.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of hard to miss though when they're in the bush.
Oh,
Even 20, 30 feet into the bush.
No
you can just
kidding, and-
stick
and-
out like a magpie nest.
When those eyes look at you,
Yeah.
although the bird was ignoring us completely,
Yeah.
totally fixated on the job at hand.
Yeah.
That's great. Unbelievable. Well, that was about 1,000 kilometers of driving
Yeah. There's a
to
lot of
find that one owl.
eye strain there, I think.
Oh, yeah, minus 30 last night.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It was. We checked on that, too.
Yeah, it looked it didn't maybe look that cold, but it was very cool. And we checked with the boys in Calling Lake this morning, and it was minus 30 and a half at midnight. So no wonder we looked a little
Oh,
chilly.
yeah, no. We should have been back home, got to bed, what, about 2:30?
Yeah.
We've worked really hard to bring this owl to the world's attention.
Sure, yeah.
What a spectacular bird. Well, maybe it'll come back out, but you never know.
Sure.
We shouldn't be greedy.
All right.
One
I'll walk
good-
up and down the road here and peer in. This is just a sliver of bush, so you can see through to that field behind us there, and you'll probably pick her up.
Sure enough, we got a fine look at the female great gray, who seemed not to be bothered by us at all. With all those mottled feathers, this bird looks bigger than the snowy owl, but it actually weighs quite a bit less and generally takes smaller prey items as well. In fact, if you go by measurements alone, this is the biggest owl on Earth. However you want to measure it, this species has the biggest face of any owl on Earth, since the feathers are what the face is made of. And no matter how often I get looked at by a great gray owl, I believe this is my 14th sighting, my heart skips a beat each and every time we make eye contact. Well, there you have it, a grand total of 263 species. Woohoo! My original goal of 200 for the first 13 episodes was too low, but I'm glad we didn't shoot for 300. We were lucky, mind you, with good weather, good guests, and good birds.
Well, the sun's going down, and I've got to say it was a success. Unbelievable. Gord and I followed the owl, watched it until we ran out of light. There were two owls. There was a pair, and I just couldn't be any happier. That's a superb bird. Have a look at this down here, by the way. There's the track where the owl came in. Most owl feet. There's the mark of the owl's tail feathers, the feathers of one wing, the feathers of the other wing, and off they both went into the boreal forest. I'm so glad that we got a good look at that bird. It was not easy, but the great gray owl, as you probably know, is absolute tops on so many birders' lists of birds that they would like to see. And I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that most people who have seen the great gray owl have seen it on the southern edge of its winter range when they're forced south out of hunger. You know, some years are better than others. But to see two of them, a male and a female, right here in the boreal forest on their nesting territory, that's a nice connection. That's about as good as birding gets, at least in my opinion. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope your birding is just as good as this. We'll see you again, and until then, take her easy. Good luck with those owls. Bye now.
Nice band, John.
Oh, thanks.
I completely forgot what I was going to say.
Happens to me all the time. Let's do it again.